Good evening. I want to welcome you to the Federal Grant Registration Process in Kentucky webinar. It is presented by the Kentucky Center for Agriculture and Rural Development. My name is Marissa Christie. I am the Agribusiness Grant Facilitation Program Coordinator, and I work for KCARD, which is what we call the Kentucky Center for Agriculture and Rural Development. Now, to explain to you what the Agribusiness Grant Facilitation Program is, the AGFP is funded by the Kentucky Agricultural Development Board and led by KCARD. Its mission is to help agricultural producers and rural businesses in Kentucky learn about, apply for, and receive funding available through numerous programs. What this really means in reality is that it's my job to help you as an agribusiness or farmer in Kentucky look for funding, identify funding that you may be able to apply for, and help you get those applications put together. I do not write your application for you, but I will help you review, I will help you edit, I will help make sure that you get it on time, and I will even come up with guidelines to make sure that happens. With that said, I've been called the grants matchmaker, the grants navigator, or the woman who can help get money, which is only sometimes true. I try to make it true as often as possible. So one of the things that people are fearful of the federal grant program isn't just writing the application. Many times now these applications have templates with them. You can contact me or someone else to ask questions about what they're really wanting. Does my budget look right? Is this eligible? And we can help you. What I have found that I spend a lot of my time doing is assisting people with getting registered for their federal programs. There's a lot of steps that can go with this. One of them is to get legally organized and get an EIN, an employer identification number. Now, with the specific program that we're working with right now, the Farmers Market Promotion Program and the Local Food Promotion Program, you have to have an EIN number. However, with other grant programs, you may be able to go with a TIN number, which we'll discuss in a moment. Then you need to register with DUNS, where you'll get a DUNS number from. You will complete the SAM.gov application process and get your cage code and expiration date. You'll register with grants.gov. And then you also, at some point during this, need to apply to go through the Kentucky Clearinghouse. How do you get an EIN? To get an EIN, not a TIN, which is a tax identification number, a lot of people use, most individual farmers who haven't organized as a small business or LLC or anything else, go with their social security number. You must be legally organized. KCARD can help you with that at no cost. Visit kcard.info for information. It may not be the very next day that we get back with you, but it is part of our mission to assist in organizing rural businesses. And you can also probably, it's always good to go ahead and check your organization's legal status in Kentucky, and there's a link for that. That is the Secretary of State's Fast Track Business Search, and you can start typing in the name of your business. For example, if the name of your business is Glasgow Flowers, then type in Glasgow Flower or Glasgow Flowers and see what comes up. It doesn't search the whole title, so you're going to need to know the first few letters at least that you may have organized your business under. And then as a small business, in order to get an EIN, once you're organized, here's a link. This is an IRS link. They claim that you can have this nearly immediately, which is great if you are applying for a grant at the last minute and you need to get this done. So I would definitely recommend, if you're considering applying for a grant, going ahead and starting this process. DUNS. What is a DUNS? What does DUNS stand for? DUNS stands for Data Universal Numbering System. It is a 9-digit number provided to companies, organizations, or individuals, such as a sole proprietor farm. It's a free service. If you type in DUNS and register into the internet, into Google, you're going to get a lot of pages that are not free. If it costs you something, you're on the wrong website. So here's a few tips to get started. I want you to keep track of everything that you write down. I want to make sure that you do not have any extra spaces when you type in your name. Check for typos. The simplest thing can really throw this whole process off, not just with DUNS, but on down the line. Make sure it matches what you sent to IRS. DUNS will not check with the IRS, but SAM.gov will. And if it's not correct, it will delay your registration. All of your contact information needs to be the same. The business name, doing business as, your address, your phone number, your physical address, your mailing address. And the last thing is that some browsers work better than others. Make sure your browser is up to date. I have successfully used both Internet Explorer and Google Chrome to assist people in registering. And I won't tell you to write them down because that is generally not a good business practice, but do keep track of your usernames and passwords. Those, I find a lot of times, are misplaced. Maybe you registered for DUNS 5 years ago because you did equip, but you don't really remember what your username was. Those things can really take some time to track down, and that's where a lot of delays come in for most farmers. So here's the necessary information for DUNS before you start. You need your legal name. Now, when you apply for DUNS as a person, if I apply for DUNS number for Marissa Christie because I have a farm, which I do not actively have a farm at this point that's making anything, when you type it in, they actually want you to do it by, they have a specific way, they want you to use your name. Put in your headquarters in case you have different branches, and probably not going to have to worry about this step. And then doing business as, so maybe I'm typing it in as, Christy, Marissa, but my doing business as name is Christie's Colorful Creations, and I'm selling flowers. Well, that would be my DBA name, Christie's Colorful Creations, or 3C's Flowers, or whatever it is that you do, whatever you go by. Then you're going to need your physical address. DUNS actually needs to verify that you physically exist somewhere. It's very, very important. You'll also need your mailing address. Some people have different mailing addresses. Some people have P.O. boxes. You need a phone number. You need a contact name and title. You've got to have a number of employees at your physical location. They actually keep track of this. Those are all the things you want to have together before you start. You want to make sure you put the same information into SAM, and we'll go over how that should be easy in just a moment. If you're like me and you want everything done now because maybe you've procrastinated and there's a grant that you really want to apply for, you can call 1-866-705-5611. However, there are also days that I would rather just use the internet. It's going to take longer. Go to http://fedgov.dnb.com/webform. You could just click on this slide when I post the slides on Big Marker. This will take a lot longer in my mind. 1 to 2 days is a long time when you're trying to go through this process. So this is what the website looks like. The reason I'm showing you this, it's beautiful. It says DNB, decide with confidence, DNB DUNS number. This is the website you should be at. I'm going to go on a slight, tiny little rant right now about why this is important. There are a lot of websites out there that will offer to expedite the DUNS process for you for a mere $50, or maybe it's $500, and they're going to keep updating your DUNS every year. No, don't do this. It is not necessary. If you have a problem with this process, call DUNS or call me, although I will say that many times when we've had problems, I end up assisting you while we call DUNS. Because generally, other than just not knowing what button to click, which I can assist with over the phone or in person, the problem is actually with some information you've entered at some point not matching up. That is the biggest problem we see with this registration process. But please, if you're not starting from this website, do not proceed. Just put the brakes on and stop. If they're going to charge you anything, stop. Do not proceed. Okay, so you know if you've successfully gotten a DUNS number if you get this email. Please do not reply to this email as a first instruction. And what I love is, I don't know if we can see it very well, but you must wait 24 to 48 hours before you can register with SAM.gov. I'll also say that during the registration process, if at any point it asks you if you would like your information to be publicly available, say no. Just say no, because otherwise you will get people contacting you offering for $500 to update your DUNS or to help you with your DUNS credit score. DMB is actually also a credit company. There at the top, and I've blacked it out from the nice individual who I'm going to have to give Erin Shapiro a little bit of credit here, because she supplied me with almost about half of the screenshots or better that I have tonight. They will put the information, your contact name, address, it's all going to be right here in this email. I'll also tell you that this email may actually arrive, if you have something like Google Mail, and go under the promotions tab, the spam tab, the updates tab. I think this one usually goes into the promotions tab. So if you have something like that set up, you want to be watching all different parts of your email. If you've called them and gotten the DUNS number over the phone, you don't have to worry as much. But you see here it says wait 24 to 48 hours before using this DUNS number, especially if you're going to register in SAM, which is the entire reason we have gotten this DUNS number. And they have lots of instructions down there for registering in SAM, which is also useful. Okay, so do your DUNS today. Don't wait. Go on and get it done, especially if you're staring down the barrel of a grant that you are about to apply for that has a deadline anytime in the next month. SAM.gov. This is where the majority of people run into problems, because what SAM stands for System for Award Management. SAM is going to take the information that you gave DUNS, the information that you give SAM, and then the information from the IRS, and it's going to compare it and make sure it all looks perfect. I highly recommend that you read the quick guide for grants registrations, because you do not need all the same information as a grantee that you would if you were applying to bid on federal contracts. They're going to ask you a lot more information if you apply to bid on federal contracts. If that is something you aspire to do, then by all means, continue and answer the extra 15 pages. If it's not something that you intend to do at this point with your business, I would recommend that you follow those instructions on that link and go forward. And here's what those instructions actually look like. This is what you need to get started. A DUNS number, which we've already been through. As you can see, it also has highlighted there. You can request one for free. So again, SAM, just like DUNS, may work better in some browsers than others. I have used Google Chrome and Internet Explorer. I have not used Mozilla or Firefox or anything for either one of these. Once I found something that worked, I stuck with it. So on the SAM registration, it seems like it would be really straightforward. And in some ways it is. There's that little information sheet gives you a really great resource to know what to click, where to click, and where to go next. However, if you don't follow those instructions and you're simply stuck clicking on your own, then you might click some interesting buttons. So my biggest piece of advice is to follow these instructions as closely as possible on the little registration guide. And I've included some screenshots here to kind of help you along. This is actually, once you register, you're going to log in and you're going to have to validate your email. So you want to go back and check your email and make sure that you've done that correctly. And it's going to say welcome so-and-so, which I have been nice and blocked out the name. You can manage your user roles. You can, in SAM, you personally can only have one registration. It's very important. But you can have different roles in different companies, different entities. Entities are what we think of as companies. They say that because it can be a nonprofit entity, it could be your personal farm, it could be your agribusiness, it can be a lot of different things, but they call them entities. Now you notice right here it says register or update entity. That is where you're going to want to go. Notice there's no button when you first get logged on that says, I have a new getting started, create entity, register for a cage code, which is your whole goal here. No such button. So select what kind of entity you are. There is a list of terms and meanings to the right. Since you are only applying for grants, unless you are actually going out to those federal contracts, select no on do you wish to bid on contracts, and select yes on do you want to be eligible for grants and other assistance. If you do not select yes on do you want to be eligible for grants and other assistance, you will not be eligible for grants and other assistance, which would defeat the purpose of what we are doing here today. Okay, and this is a screenshot of that. What type of entity are you? You can choose business or organization. Over here, click entity type and see definitions. Do you wish to bid on contracts? No. Do you want to be eligible for grants and other federal assistance? Yes. Now you see here where it says, do you want to perform intragovernmental transactions? It doesn't matter because you're not bidding on contracts. In this case, you would push next. That's the way your screen needs to look. Also, I've blacked that up here. This is for the entity that you're working with in case you have more than one entity in SAM, as some people do. Make sure you've got the right entity up there. Complete the core data section. You're gonna end up with an MPIN out of this. You will need it for grants.gov registration. Write that down. If you already have a cage code because you years and years ago went through something called, if you remember the CCR, which does not stand for Credence Clearwater Revival, it stands for Central Contractor Registration. If you got a grant several years ago, you did have a cage code through that because that's how they used to pay people through federal grants. Enter that there. You're going to have to migrate your information over, and that's going to be a little more complicated in this process. If you run into any issues, let me know, and I will do my best to help you or point you in the direction where you can receive assistance. Enter your banking information. I know you have to enter your banking information before you can be eligible to get a grant. The reason being, they want to make sure that whomever they award the grant to can actually receive the money. They don't want to award the grant to someone they can't pay, because that takes the grant away from someone else because you could never get paid. And so they might as well have not awarded it to you. We have seen problems with entering. It's going to ask you for your ACH, your bank number. When you do that, do not put in the 800 number. If you use Winchester's Best Banking Branch and they have an 800 number, don't put that in. Put in the 859-744, whatever the number is, 8189. We'll say it's that. And when they ask, and that's what you want to put in. You don't want to use the 800 number. They don't like that. They want to make sure it is a real bank somewhere. Okay. And so you're going to, here's your business information. You see, Blueberry Gardens was nice enough to let us borrow this. They're going to ask you for your Congressional District. You've got to create an MPIN, write that down. You need to know it. You might sort of put it with wherever you're storing those passwords that I did not tell you to write down, but you should really make sure you know them. Okay, complete all your points of contact. You're going to notice on this, I blacked it out. It's going to say accounts receivable point of contact. That's the person with your business that is going to ask for funds and control the funds going in and out. Once you enter a couple of these, you'll notice a button that says, and I don't have a screenshot of this, that says copy information from above. That is the best button ever. Once you know you have all the information filled out and correct, hit copy information from above. It will save you at least 15 minutes, which is not a lot, but it's nice not to have to type your phone number 4 times, or your name, or your email address, or your address. One time is good. Just sometimes there are extra fields. Just make sure you have it all done. And it won't let you go forward without putting information in the box. No, it will not let that happen. So now is the time you want to review it and hit submit. This can take 7 to 10 business days to get that illustrious cage code and expiration date. That's if everything's perfect. If everything's not perfect, this can take longer. I've seen odd things from where the IRS still has the deceased owners owning the business. excuse me, I have to take a drink. And that's going to make it take longer. So if we have to go back and change anything, that's going to draw this process out. And you cannot register for grants.gov to submit an online application. There's things like the local food promotion program or the farmers market promotion program you have to do it online. And you've got to have your cage code, expiration date, DUNS number, and EIN with your grants.gov registration before you can do that. Okay. Grants.gov has to pull all of its information and verify it from SAM.gov, which, if you remember, had to verify all of its information from the IRS and DUNS. And it's got to all match. Just make sure you put everything in perfectly. If you put everything in grants.gov properly, it should actually make the application process faster. The reason being, it can auto-populate forms like the SF-424. I still recommend that before you start applying on grants.gov, you know what needs to go on that form so you do not have any surprises. And there's the link to how you would apply, the instructions for applying on grants.gov. I'm not going to go through as much detail on that. I've found that that process doesn't trip people up as badly. I've also not had as many people go through it because generally in this state, the USDA appreciates paper applications, but for this program, they are not accepting them. And it's not a state decision, that's a national decision. And here is the overview of getting registered for grants.gov. You notice step 1 is obtaining a DUNS number. Check. Step 2 is to register with SAM, which you have already done and gotten a cage code if you've progressed this far. Step 3 is to create a username and password. That's a pretty easy step. So you're going to have to create a username and password. If your business has never registered with grants.gov before, this will actually be easier than if it has, especially if someone who's moved on from the organization has registered and you do not know the login information anymore, because you have to be an authorized representative. And they have lots of e-business point of contact at your registration must log in. So if you had someone over you, if you're working as a part of the Kentucky state government and applying for a grant, they would have this information. And then you can make sure that you are an authorized organizational representative, which is what AOR is, authorized organizational representative. You can watch that status to make sure that you are the person that they are trusting to do this. And it's a fairly easy process compared to the rest of them. The Kentucky E-Clearinghouse, out of all of them, I'm going to give a brief shout out to Lee Nally of the Kentucky E-Clearinghouse. She has been very helpful over the years of getting people registered and getting them on there. If your webpage looks like the one I'm about to show you, then you are actually not going to be able to proceed in that manner. You're going to have to do a little bit of tinkering with Microsoft Internet Explorer. I do not recommend using any other browsers for this purpose. That is the one that I have found will work the best, and there are a few reasons, and I'm going to walk you through why. I'm not going to walk you through the whole e-clearinghouse process. I can do that on a case-by-case basis. Once you are registered with Lee Clearinghouse, Lee Nally, who is very helpful, will send you instructions on what specifically to do to get your registration going. So let's just get the website working properly so that you can become registered to put your business through the e-clearinghouse. Oh, what is the e-clearinghouse? The e-clearinghouse is the way to make sure that any federal funds that are coming to Kentucky are used in a way approved by the state of Kentucky. Also, if federal funding were going to, say, build a road, when it went through the e-clearinghouse, there's the possibility that that road can impact sensitive resources such as environmental resources, so they would need to do further investigation to make sure that that does not happen. Basically, this process is to make sure that federal funds are spent in the state in a way that the state wants them spent, and that if it's a construction project, nothing sensitive will be impacted. So let me show you the little screen that we don't want. This is the screen you don't want. This is not what this website should look like. And it says, if you are seeing, it's really tiny, I know. If you are seeing this, you have an old browser and this page may not appear properly. Okay, that's not true anymore. This is, I displayed it, this is the most up-to-date version of Google Chrome this is a screenshot of. And over here's the website. Rarely displays properly. If you type in Kentucky or eclearinghouse.ky.gov, you'll get this. So, switch over to Internet Explorer. Show you what that looks like. Oh, it just fixed itself? Is that because I have the most recent version of Internet Explorer? No. It's because I have helped entities apply through this many times, and so I have done something a little tricky to my computer. Whereas it said to make sure I had the most up-to-date browser, what I really had to do was mess with my very up-to-date browser. So you go over, hold on, let me show you. There is, and this is cut off, there's a little cog over here. That's your little tool setting. You're going to click that. You're going to scroll down to where it says Compatibility View Settings. Once you click Compatibility View Settings, this pops up. And you say, add this website. And you click in there and you put ky.gov and click Add. See how it's already listed in my box? Because I added a long time ago. It says display internet sites like Microsoft compatibility, whatever. I don't care what else that says down there. Add ky.gov. There's close. Now you're going to have to close your browser completely out, and then you end up with the beautiful version of this instead of the first version that I showed you in Google Chrome, which I have not figured out, nor have I spent much time figuring out how to make it display properly since I now have it displaying properly in Internet Explorer. So from here, you're going to have to click Set Up My Account. You do not receive an automatic registration at all hours of the day on this. Go ahead and set up your account. You will get a username and password and instructions for how to enter your eClearinghouse project. Follow those instructions to a T. I still refer to those instructions every time, except the one time I didn't, and it took me extra long because there was no way to get it in there without following those instructions. Go back through, just make sure add it to the compatibility view. And I don't think we have any questions tonight. I think the rule of thumb is to go ahead and start this process at least from the EIN and DUNS, SAM.gov, and Grants.gov today. You can wait on the eClearinghouse. That generally won't take as long as you have that submitted. And there is a box on every federal grant in the form 424, SF 424, which stands for Standard Form 424, which says, has this been submitted to the executive office of your state for review, or some such language, for intergovernmental review. That's what, has it been submitted for intergovernmental review. When you submit it to eClearinghouse, you check yes on that box and write the date. It must be completed for your grant to be eligible. If you do not complete that step and do that registration, your grant will not be eligible. If you don't complete any one of these steps, then you're not going to be able to submit your grant electronically. If you skip the grants.gov step, you can submit it in paper, assuming that the grant you're going for allows that. And I just wanted to take a minute to thank you for sticking with me as we went over EIN, DUNS, SAM.gov, Grants.gov, and the Kentucky Clearinghouse in a whopping 31 minutes. This is not a total step-by-step guide, but it should help you find out if anywhere on any of these forms it says, would you like your information to be publicly available? Say no. And that particularly applies to DUNS and SAM. I want to go over that again real quick. You do not, unless you just want to be available for federal contract bidding and feel like filling out more information, don't click that in SAM. If you have any questions, feel free to contact me. My email is mchristie@growkentuckyag.com. My telephone number is 270-883-2392. If you'd like have any questions about incorporating or any business organizational questions, KCAR does a wide variety of business technical assistance specifically for farmers